we started this 4 years ago because we're in the War Memorial Building, and we realized that we had a great legacy here, and we wanted to share it with the community and pass it on. So we started this, and every year's just gotten better, and our speakers have been wonderful veterans. Our first one was the widow of a veteran, Ms. Doreen Gill, who came from England as a war bride. And so she was wonderful, and we've had Ralph Jones Jr., David Sykes, and today we'll have Miss Emma here. So we're so glad you came. We appreciate Chuck and Star and Representative Hallford coming and sharing in this time with us. We appreciate April from the paper too. So we're going to be videoing this, and we hope that we will get it on YouTube. And we'll be taking some pictures too. And I'm going to turn it over to Felita, who's been in charge of today's program. We really do appreciate you all coming. It's been a wonderful Veterans Day, and I hope that you have told the veteran today how much their service has meant to you. Okay, Felita.
Good afternoon. I would like to thank all of you for coming to our Veterans Day program. I missed the one this morning that we had here in Humboldt, but I've heard so many good compliments about it. Everybody said, girl, you missed a good time. So maybe next year I'll be able to attend. Today, Miss Lena Bell Reed, the mother of Emma Reed Lindsay. Miss Reed is a retired director of our library and a very dear friend of ours. At this time, she will come and introduce her daughter, Emma Reed Lindsay. Miss Reed, take your time.
We heard that.
I want you all to know, the first Sunday in October, I introduced my oldest son as speaker for our 142nd anniversary of Morningstar Church. So he said I was afraid of what you were going to say. So Emma is looking at me now. She's the fourth one of our children. I want you to know that she was a very easy child to manage. But I want you to know that she has called me her mother from all the way around the world. She's been around the world twice. She was in Desert Storm. And I just want you to know that she never forgot her mother. I don't care where she went. And I guess she's doing like her brother. He just said, I don't know what mama's going to do. I can tell a whole lot about it. But I want you to listen to my fourth child, Emma Lindsay.
Thank you. You never know what's up.
That's right.
You be sitting there on paying the bill. Like, what story is she going to tell? I want to thank you for inviting me here. And you say I don't have any cards. I have been thinking about this and praying about this and saying, what is it that I should talk about on this Veterans Day? And if you were there this morning, you know I'm a preacher, but I'm not going to preach, and I'm not going to be here long. I said I had a very unique experience in the military because I started out as a WAC. I went from WACs to regular Army. Not a whole lot of women did that. As a matter of fact, when they did away with the WACs in 1975, a lot of the women opted out of the military. So I'd like to start off telling you a little bit about what life was like as a WAC. Now, if any of you men were in the military back in the day, you know we had WAC shacks that was off limit to all males. We had MPs that patrolled our areas where we lived so that no men were allowed to come near us. And women's basic training, we learned to sit, and we had our little wraparound skirts, and our little white tennis shoes, and anklet socks, and little white button down, and we wore Palace Athena. And when we, in basic training, when you went to eat, you had to come back and get the wrinkles out of the back of that skirt. You couldn't fall back out in formation with wrinkles in your skirt. We learned to apply our makeup and do our hair. And I'm thinking we had to run a half mile, I believe it was. And we spent one night in the woods. We had one set of fatigues, and we spent one night in the woods. It was an experience. Changing over the regular Army didn't really affect me. And I want to tell you one other thing. You could sit right next to a man and make half the money. Our pay scale was not the same as the males doing the same job. It wasn't until we were integrated into the regular Army that we received the same pay as male soldiers. But now, like I said, they've done away with the WACs and regular Army, but men still treated us as WACs. We had an option of if we were going to fire weapons or not. See, when we were WACs, we didn't touch any weapons. We had options of things that we were going to do. I kind of got thrown into the real Army in a hardcore way. I was at Fort Bliss, Texas, working on Logan Heights basic training for air defense artillery. And I get a letter from the Department of the Army saying, congratulations, you've been selected as a drill sergeant. Well, mind you, in the meantime, I'd never run more than a half a mile. Men still treated us like WACs. They treated us like ladies. We had jobs, we were medics, and we were administration. We didn't have any get dirty jobs. We still wore these little light green striped uniforms, and we were cute. And I got this letter that said, congratulations, you have been selected for drill sergeant duty. And when I saw it, I went to my first sergeant because I was a battery clerk. And I says, first sergeant, I says, what is this? He says, yeah, well, I'm going to back up a little bit. I had won Soldier of the Quarter for the Air Defense Artillery for the base, for the quarter before. My first sergeant had put me in for drill sergeant because the Army had just decided to put women in air defense artillery. I was already working in basic training unit, so he figured I'd just go to drill sergeant school and just stay right there at Fort Bliss, Texas. But when I got the letter and he read it, he said, Fort Jackson, they messed up. You were supposed to stay here, not go to Fort Jackson. Off the Fort. Any men in here, the combat soldiers, women, you're not going to understand this. I'm going to tell you how the men treated me. I go to drill sergeant school, and I've never done anything with a weapon. I knew nothing, had no combat training. So we're getting ready to do a firing maneuver. I said, well, what do we do? It's another female and I. They says, well, you're going to run down and you're going to kill that man in that bunker and throw the grenade. And that's easy enough. We can do that. So we get down and we're in our fighting positions. We says, ready, go. And so we both just run down there. And while we're running, we threw our weapon over our shoulder. We're trying to pull our grenade and we just threw it in the hole. And everybody laughed. We thought we had done what? They started talking about firing maneuvers and 3-second rush and cover and fire. We had no idea what they were talking about. I was then indoctrinated into the regular Army because we had to run. We had to learn to fire a weapon. We had to do all of the things that the men did because when I finished basic training, my drill sergeant school, I had to train males as well as female. As far as I know, I think I'm the only female in the Army that ever trained infantry soldiers. My brigade refused to let me go. I think the military still use a program that I had come up with for training and rewards in the basic training, and whole TRADOC uses it. They were using it when I retired. And they didn't want to let me go because I was implementing the program at that time at post-wide. So when the infantry soldiers overflowed from Fort Benning, they allowed me to stay there to train infantry soldiers. When I went to Germany, 8th Infantry Division, some of my trainees ran up and they says, you need to tell our platoon sergeant that you are a drill sergeant. They said because they don't believe we had a women drill sergeant. But my experience in the military was great, and I say that God never places anybody. You're in no place by mistake. No one sitting in this room today is a mistake. You're supposed to be here today. And I said at the beginning that I'm a preacher, and God placed me in the military to equip me for my job that I have for God. He taught me to be a soldier for the country so that I could be a more effective soldier for Him. As my mother said, I've traveled around the world. I fought in Desert Storm. I deployed. Anybody seen Black Hawk Down? Team Black Hawk Down, the Marines were calling for 10th Mountain. That was us. Somalia was a hot spot that was never declared a war. We fought our way out of Somalia. That's how we got out of there. And the thing about it, there were more women, I believe, than men there because we supposed to have been on a humanitarian mission feeding the hungry, but we had to fight every day to survive. Women are not on the front line, as they would say, it's combat, but you can't go into a war zone and not know how to defend yourself because at any time you can get shot at. I don't understand my last deployment to Haiti. I had my retirement papers in, thinking that I was getting ready to retire. I got orders revoking my retirement orders and orders to Haiti. In 1994, we overthrew the Haitian government and put Aristide in power.